Live from the satellite of love, this is Derailed Trains of Thought. Well, it's the not-too-distant future, and somewhere in time and space, Nick and I are caught in a nasty place.
I wish I knew more of the lines.
What lines?
But this is nice. I like most places we go, except the one place they try to kill us.
We're on a space theme last several episodes.
Yeah,
so we'll see how long we keep that going.
I like the sci-fi vibe. You know, this is a little more
it's a little
homemade.
Yeah, a little.
I'm a little
low-key.
frightened that this might not survive very long going around.
You really shouldn't ask questions about how people eat and breathe up here. You should really just relax.
Yeah. I'll do that. I think this is a nice place. I think there might be people around here, but the doors are closed and it's like they're watching something at the moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, they do seem to have a nice theater over there.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of paraphernalia over here. I don't get what's with the golf clubs in the one corner, and then like some I don't know. Is this an ant farm? I don't know what this thing is.
I don't know.
Here.
It's a strange little place.
Yeah, like all kinds of odds and ends thrown together here. It looks like they might make good robot parts, though.
Yeah, I'll take that. I mean, we haven't really met me. Oh well, Hal, but hopefully, it's not that all over again.
Yeah, no, we don't want that.
Yeah, but hopefully they're friendly
and don't make fun of us. But yes, welcome to another episode of Derailed Trains of Thoughts, where we talk about stuff and sort of hints that maybe you know what we're talking about.
Yes. So, Tim, shall we begin?
Begin? What do we begin?
Story school?
Well, yes, story school. In story school, we talk about stories, and we try to bring out some educational aspects of them, partly not just to teach you, our listeners, as if we were some gurus, which we're not really.
Nah, we just kind of like to talk.
Yeah, I mean, we're the students as much as the teachers in some ways. It's a learning experience for all of us.
Yes. So sometimes we do more philosophical things, but today we're going to get very nuts and bolts.
Yeah. About what makes a story work. Well, I guess we both we came up with two different analogies for this. Either kind of what's your engine, what makes it run, or
the kind of the skeleton of the story. The
bare bones.
The bare bones. Yes, thank you. So there are, if you go to writing classes, they'll sometimes talk about various things that are kind of how you break down a plot. Mm-hmm. We'll just start with they'll say there's 9 basic plots that all stories fit into, that all stories are basically the same story or almost the same story with different clothes.
Now, where would you have heard about this, Nick?
I would have heard about this from my Dr. Hensley, my writing teacher at Taylor University, Fort Wayne.
Yes.
And I'm sure that sort of stuff happens in other writing classes. But
sure.
And 9 basic plots are very simple things like man versus man, which is, war sort of stories, or man versus nature, which is Twister sort of stories.
Or natural disaster type
disasters,
stuff.
Yeah.
So would you say the typical action story where you've got a villain that the hero is trying to go after, would that fall under the man versus man category?
That's my understanding. Basically, anytime it's just very, people versus people in fighting or in chess or whatever, it's basically, most stories have some sort of man versus man. It's hard to exist otherwise.
Unless it's the Revenant, I suppose.
Then it's man versus nature.
Yeah. Which I guess there's also some man versus man in there too, though, because I think he's after revenge, but still.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of nature. Hatchet is man versus nature.
Yeah, yeah.
There's man versus time. You're sort of, the bomb's going to explode.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of stuff. Or, I got 5 days until this happens. Or
the countdown, yeah.
Groundhog Day. In some ways.
Yeah, in some ways. Or maybe that's not a man versus fate type thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's true. It probably is more man versus fate or God.
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, it sounds like the plot idea is very nebulous. Like, it's not necessarily a hard and fast rule.
It's just basically man versus, and technically, all stories are basically, at the very least, conflict.
Yeah.
And so basically just saying, here are your main fill-ins for your antagonist.
And
you get a man versus self where you just, it's Dimmonsdale whipping himself sort of stuff.
And I'm guessing you do a lot of mixing and melding of these things.
And I think the benefit to all these story engines, bare bones, and I'll just use the 9 plots as an example, is that in reality, I'm not sure when you're writing, you're often thinking, I'm using plot number 7 and plot number 3. I mean, I don't know many writers. Maybe some do. I personally don't.
Right.
But it's good to like you're reading a book or watching a movie or TV show or something. Why do I like this so much? And then you can start breaking it down into its pieces and see if there's some combination that seems to work. And sometimes I think, obviously, if you have a story that has just one, it's usually a little flat or a little more simple than one that has 2 or 3 or 4 plots on top of each other.
Yeah, because you don't want just it to be about a good guy versus a bad guy. Like the good guy usually has some sort of like inner other thing that he's trying to achieve.
Or it's a versus a bad guy, but the bad guy also has a bomb, so it's versus time. And then you also have the internal conflict, and then you might have another versus man, like your partner's, wisecracking or something.
Right. In that sense, these bare bones ideas are not just useful for the viewer for understanding why do I enjoy this, but I guess if you're writing and you're coming up with a part that you're struggling with, or whether it's the generate plot or you just feel like it's become too flat, maybe that's a case where you need to look at some of these ideas and see, okay, what am I doing? What's going on in the story? And is there something missing that should be there?
Yeah, I never quite thought about it this way, but really all it is stories are conflict. You need conflict. And it's just another way of saying, okay, here are ways you can make conflict.
Yeah.
In case you're having trouble, like, I hadn't thought about throwing society in there, man versus society, having not just versus, he's against the upper class or the lower class or the,
right.
whatever.
And I guess I came up with the term story engine. I think I've heard that from one of the thing I've mentioned on the Lost podcast recently. Yeah. The one of the Lost writers who was talking about the early stage of development of the show. Basically, for like a TV show, they really needed I think he used the term engine. Basically, something to keep week to week stories to come out, plot, problems that they would have to deal with.
Yeah, it's it's basically a conflict maker. On a Weekly Hijack, we just finished season 2 of Lost, and mainly the Hatch is a story engine.
Yeah,
I mean, just like here's a thing.
What do we do with it?
It's man versus mysterious computer. I mean,
or the others,
or the other, and that's 2 of them going.
The survivors have their own ideology or goals, just survival basically. Yeah. Well, as the others have this cult-like goal that they're trying to protect.
I think it was Abrams said that if he wasn't interested in just survival story.
Yeah.
That's really just one thing. So now you have survival and lots of craziness.
And really, Lost really only did the survival story for the most part for the first season. There's a little bit sprinkled in the second season, but and especially even after that, the survivors get into their own routine. For the most part, they don't deal with the typical nature stuff.
So much conflict in there's no 2 people that can exist on the screen at the same time and not have some sort of conflict in that show.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go to another thing is character goals. This is another way of, I guess, just making it's another story engine. Okay, so I have this, I want to write a spy story. You need to have him have some sort of goal. And, well, that's more MacGuffin, actually. We'll go back to that.
Yeah.
But, some sort of, what do I want in life? When you play Dungeons and Dragons, you're like, what's my character? What's my motivation?
Yeah.
I want to avenge myself. I want to be a millionaire. Those sort of things that they always make you write, like in writing class, the kind of dossier. How do you say that? I don't know, like their height and their hair color and what they want. And, and it's helpful if you're trying to get a hold of stuff. But I think, again, like most story engines, when you're starting, you might start doing that. But once you get into it, it just kind of, you just understand, I need conflict. I need to grok this character.
Grok this character?
Grok. I love the word grok, which is like to fully understand. It's from, I think it was created by Heinlein in Stranger in Strange Land.
Okay. But I know that's a very key component of, I remember reading about the classic Hollywood style of movies, like they're talking pre-1960s. Basically, it's saying that a goal-driven protagonist was always a kind of a key. Like, you didn't ever want like kind of a wimpy character as your lead or someone who just like, yeah, whatever. In other words, Obed would not fit in well with a classic Hollywood movie.
Or Hamlet.
Yeah, or Hamlet. No. Yeah, those are completely different types of things. And
they're almost anti-heroes in some ways because your hero wants something and the conflict is that things stop them. That's the traditional hero, goal, obstacle.
Right. The funny thing is, someone like Hamlet is probably more accurate to real life, because we, him, and haw about our own decisions all the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, especially in a traditional escapist Hollywood type movie, you want someone who knows what they want and is going to pursue it.
Do whatever they want.
It's sort of, you know, you're living through that person's adventures or escapades or, you know, triumphs.
And there's something very compelling about a character who knows what they want.
Yes, that is true.
And that makes strong characters, you know, because you're like, yes, he's getting, you know, the ones people get annoyed with character-wise tend to be either the ones that have a goal that just drives you nuts.
Walt, he's my boy. He's my boy. Walt.
Yes, we have referenced Lost for 30% of this podcast so far. Or the ones that, you know, they keep switching, like, or they're just single, you know, like the Walt thing. My common one is always like, I just don't trust you, Clark. You know, that's how you bring that up a lot. But, okay, so, you know, so we have the conflicts with this plot, story engine, and then we have kind of the motivation, and then we have the MacGuffin.
Ah, yes, the MacGuffin.
So define this for us.
Well, this is a term I believe Hitchcock coined for basically the MacGuffin is this mysterious something that the hero wants, the antagonist wants, and everyone's trying to get this thing. Hitchcock would argue that a MacGuffin in its, well, I don't know if he would say this, but from my understanding, MacGuffin in its purest sense, it hardly even matters, really. Like, government secrets. You don't have to explain what those government secrets are. You just know, okay, this computer file has a thing that has all this important information out, and we're going to do everything to stop it. I think in Mission Impossible 3, the MacGuffin is called the rabbit's foot, and they never even bother explaining what the rabbit's foot is. It's just like, it's a rabbit's foot. We want it. They want it.
It's the pure, I mean, that's a pure MacGuffin. And I think the problem is that shows in some ways, when your story engine's too, you know, the bare bones are too, you can see them.
Yeah.
People start calling foul.
Pretty much.
Or not always. I mean, you can get away with it cleverly. But when the MacGuffin feels like it doesn't matter, you better have something else.
Yeah. Well, and I think Mission Impossible 3 does have a bit. I mean, I know Tom Cruise in that movie is trying to protect his wife, which is a weird thing for a Mission Impossible movie. Yeah. It's the only time they did that, I think.
That's an Abrams thing.
Yeah, I suppose so. But so, you know, there's a personal connection there. But yeah, it's not necessarily. You don't tend to have MacGuffins in movies that have a great deal of internal conflict.
No.
I mean, you may have something very understated, like Indiana Jones is after the Lost Ark, which is kind of a MacGuffin, but he's also like trying to protect history. I mean, so he has his motivations for seeking.
Yeah, besides just, it's a thing. Let's get, I mean,
yeah.
Like some old school cartoons very much have the MacGuffin, like,
I suppose so.
You know, we have to protect this. Blue laser won't let you. You know, sort of thing. You know, and it's just ridiculous.
Right.
You know.
Well, cartoons, especially like say your Looney Tunes stuff, boil these ideas down to like just the, you know, man versus man, bunny versus hunter.
Exactly. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yep.
I wonder sometimes, and maybe it's not the same thing as MacGuffin, but you know, some of those shows that are basically just about the characters, like the mystery, like Psych.
Okay.
Or mystery. Shows like that. You know, the mystery shows that, I mean, the mystery is almost a MacGuffin just to hang character interactions on sometimes.
I suppose so. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the proper terminology for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't call it a MacGuffin because I think the idea of the MacGuffin is that it's a specific object. Although I remember joking when we joked about The Force Awakens that apparently Luke Skywalker was the MacGuffin.
And we don't even get him at the end. I mean, we get him, but
yeah,
that's about it.
We just see him.
Exactly. When probably in this Rogue One, the MacGuffin will be the Death Star plans.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
so yeah, I think it's always an object, but sort of what you're talking about is sort of like a separate plot engine than what most people will watch the show for. I mean, obviously, if people didn't like the mystery, they just drop the mystery.
Mysteries, I mean, they have to be interesting, but they're not really the central. That's what's moving the pieces, so the pieces can have fun.
Right. Yeah, that's probably true.
So it is an engine.
I'd be curious how many, like, I'm sure there's some hardcore mystery fans that like really delve into like the clues and the putting things together. Yeah. And I'm curious what they would like. Would they discriminate against the lighter fair mystery stuff, or they just enjoy that as another part of the genre?
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
I'd have to dig into one of those communities.
Now I haven't watched much for the new superhero shows, but do they have MacGuffins?
Sometimes. A lot of them seem to be,
or it's more. I guess here's another. Sorry, I interrupted you completely.
Go ahead.
But another version of the story engine is the monster or villain of the week.
Yes. And in that sense, unfortunately, I mean, I enjoy a lot of the current superhero shows. A lot of them feel disappointingly procedural to me sometimes. Procedural being your cop shows that basically there's kind of a pattern that they follow each time.
I suppose procedurals, why they're procedurals is because you can see the bones so well. I mean,
well, people know
they're the same structure every time.
People know generally what to expect.
The story engine is pretty much set. You just dress it up different every day.
And you can even the superhero shows will disguise that with a lot of superhero trappings. I mean, The Flash will have time travel and all kinds of crazy superpowers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's completely predictable each time, but most of the DC shows, I feel, have a more familiar beats to them than, like, say, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And this is just, and it pays me to say this because I'm much more of a DC fanboy than Marvel, but I can't predict what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to do from week
insane.
to week.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. From the ones that I have not seen a lot of DC, but it does seem like they're safer, they're more, I don't know, predictable is the right word, but
yeah, it's hard to say.
But yeah, more procedural-ish.
And sometimes, like I just watched the Supergirl season finale recently, and I mean, there's some good moments in there, but then part of me was, I don't know, it's just one of those shows that, like, I can see the outlines, or like there's like, okay, you're doing one of these, like, okay, they had a mind control thing, and of course they also had the time when, like, no, I know you're still in there, you can fight this, and I was like, it makes sense, but I've seen this in like every single mind control story I've ever seen.
So I guess maybe
we're getting a little off track.
No, I think you're right. But then you start going to tropes.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point, because certain story engines work so well,
we've been done a
lot of time, then it's, what do you do about that? I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with the trope per se.
Not in and of itself, no. Yeah, it's a matter of...
it's a matter of owning it?
Yeah, sometimes it's a matter of owning it. Like, say, like we said with Doctor Who this season, they owned that they had a paradox in one of their episodes.
Man, that was a great...
They literally winked to the audience and said, we're just having fun with this.
Yeah.
So in cases like that, that's great when you can just acknowledge it. Other cases, I don't know, if you can... most storytelling is still recreating. You're bringing a new spin on old ideas. I mean, that's par for the course, and we've talked about that before. But if you can do it in a new way, use a similar trope in a new way, that's still moving the story forward, but usually maybe surprise people.
I guess then that's the downside. I mean, the upside to all these sort of story engines is that gives you a way to start, a way to amp it up, or a way to fix things, or a way to, make things work. But I guess the downside then is if you don't integrate them or layer them well, they just become
stale.
They become derivative as opposed to, when you say, it sounds horrible when you say there's basically 9 plots and all the stories are just retellings. But in actuality, there's a lot of stories we all love. And they don't all feel, just because there's one Star Wars doesn't mean that, Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek and Babylon 5 aren't also good.
Sure.
Even though they have a lot of similarities. Mm-hmm. And I think it has to do with the meat you put on it, the costumes you make it wear.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, even in a visual medium, especially, the design of the world is, that can be very unique. If you have good art designers, if you have a good cinematography, you can fashion your own look for a world. And that, in some ways, that helps the familiar storytelling, or some of these ideas we've been talking about, the familiar elements, helps them pop a little bit more. Or in some way, maybe that's not the word I'm looking for. Maybe it helps the viewer feel more adjusted to this strange new world you're discovering. Yeah. Like, say, Guardians of the Galaxy, all kinds of crazy looking, there's green aliens and red aliens and, funny looking people in it. But, you've got this like group of rogues basically, and people know that and love that idea.
Exactly. And I think that's the other thing with story engines, that you can play on things. The reason people like certain things is because it touches something culturally or deeper. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing wrong with necessarily going with, I'm going to write a revenge story or a Motley Crue story or whatever. A buddy cop story.
I mean, Toy Story is essentially a buddy
a
buddy movie.
It just is. You don't think of it like that originally. And I think it's a disservice to stories as a viewer to simply boil it down to its tropes and its skeleton.
That takes some of the magic out of it. I mean, it's good in terms of like wanting to analyze it, but don't feel like you don't necessarily have to analyze everything on the same level.
Yeah. Now, what do you feel about, as writers, as a creator, kind of using, when they teach movie writing, they always talk about you have the 3 acts. Act 1, and it should be done in 10 minutes. You have a twist, and you have to act 2, and then the character should, you should lose, and then you should come back. I mean, those all make good stories. Is it? I guess how much should we rely on those sort of things? Do you think? I mean, there's no good answer. It depends, really, but.
You mean like the timing of stuff,
or like there's kind of traditional 3-act thing, and it has to be a low point here, and then he comes back, and those make good movies. But then sometimes you watch those movies, and he's gonna be a low point here, and then the friend's gonna say, "I don't trust you at all," and
it is difficult because. Especially movies, they're trying to mass market them. Usually studios don't want to surprise the audience too much. A bad twist can have bad word of mouth or something like that. If you lose your audience, that's a bad thing. I guess in books and I don't know, some authors seem to be able to get away with it easier than others. I mean, I don't think you should always try to do it, but I think that's the reason why sometimes you don't get the unconventional story structure in movies as much.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, because I think I'm always kind of torn because on one hand, obviously those structures work. And that's why people use them, because they're a great way of
keeping you grounded,
pulling the audience along and whatever. But on the other hand, it seems odd to force your story to work that way when it's not. Again, I'm kind of an organic writer, so maybe that's the reason I talk like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm never going to be James Patterson, who probably has the kind of rhythm down better.
Well, yeah. How many books does he put out a year?
Exactly. So. I don't know. It's a curious kind of balancing act, I think, because obviously, if you just rely on the story engine and do your work, and then you just put clothes on, like, oh, we're going to do this buddy cop, but we'll make this guy from the Bronx and this guy will be from Texas, and then a romantic comedy, and like, oh, it'll be an Amish person and a socialite, and we'll be on,
right?
And yeah, it's different, but then is it actually
unique?
Yeah,
yeah.
Like if you read the back cover copy of some modern books, it's always like. When he was 10, he was in a skating accident. Ever since, he's lost 4 fingers, and he worked in a UPS factory. And then an alien came down and visited him. And then he fell in love with the owner of a coffee shop. What ensued? It's just like they throw all these weird things together, like, and now it's a story. That's interesting. And you're like, it's almost too much off.
Well, I mean, but you also don't want to just set your story on autopilot either. I mean, so it is a tricky thing. I think a lot of it does come down to and this comes more from some of our conversations on here than anything.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you've gotten to know your characters and your world really well, then hopefully you won't be falling into ruts too easily. And I don't think I'm saying this right. Like won't necessarily go on autopilot, but hopefully your interest in those characters and in that world will lead to interesting scenarios.
And I wonder, the story engines, largely like the plots and the character goals and the tropes, they're all built around things that are basically you want to make good conflicts and you want to have emotional payoff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can certainly get and probably different authors at different levels, you can sense those sorts of things without having to. And these tropes and these plots weren't invented, then stories started to be written. People started writing stories and said, wait a second, what's in common in the ones I like?
That's a good point, yeah.
So I think the goal is to maybe get these, if you're having trouble, use them. But the goal is to get to the point where you understand conflict and paying things off and the kind of rhythm of interesting storytelling.
That's a good point. So even more so than usual, they're not rules, more like guidelines.
Exactly. Because, they're engines, but they're only engines because someone else has already found that they have motion in them.
Yeah, it's more like they were discoveries in terms of this is how this works as opposed to some cavalcade of English professors sat down and was like, this is how we're going to dictate that stories must be written.
They read Homer and then said, hey, we should learn stuff like this.
Yeah, there we go. Most art is imitation in the best possible way. Probably because, just the very act of creating is in itself an imitation of the creator.
Yeah.
We've said before, all truth goes back to God. So
that's where we stand. Yeah, exactly. And so these are just things I guess it's good to think of them as discoveries and not rules. Mm-hmm. Or even like, when you say the bare bones, it's like you're making a thing. No, it's not so much that is that we autopsied other stories and found the bones.
And sometimes you really are autopsying yourself as you're going, like you have to step back from your sculpture. I mean, some people are like, who was it? Michelangelo, who would look at a block of granite and then it's like, I can study it for a long time. And then he would see the whole thing.
Yeah.
very few of us, I think, work that way.
Yeah.
I think most of us are discovering a story as we are in the process of creating
You
it.
can do outlines and use these things, but yeah, I'm very much built to discover the conflict, and I like to think I have a decent sense of conflict and stuff, and like to ramp it up, but we'll see. So I guess yeah, that's not bad. That's not a bad.
I think that's a good summary there.
summary, yeah.
I really like that as it being a process of discovery rather than a rule set.
And so yeah, go look what other people have discovered, but don't necessarily rely on them as a.
The Bible.
Or like a BuzzFeed list.
Yeah.
10 things that will make your story awesome. It may not.
Maybe it will.
It might. Yeah.
Maybe it won't. Okay. With that said, I think it's time we went on to our soundtrack. Okay, since we've been talking about story engines, that was one of our analogies, I decided to go with Mario Kart.
Dun dun dun.
Namely Super Mario Kart, the original. And as soon as I thought that's the game I wanted to go with, I knew which band I wanted to use. The 1-Ups.
The 1-Ups.
Yes.
Have we not done a 1-Up? No, we did Sleigh Ride, didn't we, one time for Christmas?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Okay.
See, I was thinking we hadn't. Oh, well. Anyway.
Well, that's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. And I don't think we've done one from Super Mario Kart.
I don't think so.
Well, so here, that's still something new-ish. This is from their album. They did a whole album on Super Mario Kart, which
Good
is why
album.
I thought of it. Yeah. But this is the one song from the album that they submitted to Overclocked Remix. The name of it is Funky Mario Circuit, and this is the radio edit of it, apparently. I think there's a longer version
I think
of
it's
it
like 5 minutes
on
on
the
the
album.
album, yeah.
But this is a little shorter. Perfect podcast length. We should really suggest Maze do more radio edits of his, and you could
Yes.
use more of his.
I almost picked one of his today.
Yeah.
It was like 3 minutes, but I'm like, I done, yeah.
Okay. Hope you enjoy it. It's kind of jazz funky. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Satellite of Love.
Hello, everyone. Hope you enjoy that fun song.
Yeah, okay. Cambot, if you could kind of come this way a little bit. I know this is not a video podcast, but you want to make sure you get our good side here.
There we go.
So, okay.
And who knows, the Mads might enjoy us.
That's true.
Well, or unenjoy us.
Unenjoy us, probably more likely.
Yeah.
They probably...
Excourage us.
If it gets us off the satellite faster, I don't want...
work.
I feel like the people who've been here have been stuck here for a long time.
Deep hurting.
We don't want that.
No. But you guys may get this in just a second.
Deep hurting?
Yes.
Well, quite possibly. Because guess what? It is time for a new segment, and you can blame Nick for this.
Which may not last long. We don't know.
The name of this new segment is Pun Times.
All right. So here's what happened. We were watching on YouTube some of the O. Henry pun off stuff.
So this is a contest that takes place in Texas.
I guess in Texas, and they get a category, and then they go back and forth to get as many puns as they can before someone. And we won't go that long. We'll do a couple minutes.
We probably won't last.
Near that long. But if you've listened to enough of us, we get to do these sessions when we start just punning back and forth. So we thought we'd try it as an actual thing.
Yeah, we'll see. We may be terrible at this. I mean,
this may not even make the cut.
But we thought it was at least worth a pun for the money.
Yeah. So, thank you. All right.
That's kind of how this will work.
Yes. This is awesome. This will be. You will either love this or hate this.
So
enjoy your punishment.
Nice. Okay. So Natasha picked out some categories from us.
She just made them off the top of her head, and here, roll.
Okay. So we will randomly choose one.
Choose a category, and then we'll go back and forth.
And number is number 5.
Number 5 is book titles.
Book titles?
Book titles.
Oh, man. I kind of wish this category was just Gone with the Wind.
See, that is fabulous. I do much better at this. I had a good foundation.
I don't know. I think that's just kind of the trouble on the horizon.
Double points for you. Double points for you. So my son was asking me about, tornadoes and stuff. And I said, look right there. That's the eye of the storm. He's like, well, what do you call it in a dust storm? We said, well, that's the eye of the world. No.
Wow.
I don't know. I was trying.
Well, what was the rule of the pun off? It doesn't have to be funny. It just has to make.
It just has to work.
It just has to work.
It just has to work. Yes. Thank you.
I really feel though for the audience listening to this, especially all our French listeners, they're going to be Les Miserables.
That's true. I'm trying to figure out make a pun off of them, not just have it end that way, because one time. I don't gamble very often, but I was in the casino, and normally for this one, I don't even run a game. You throw one dice and you win or lose depending on the number. But then you kind of do double or nothing. And so I ran 2 dice, but with a pair of dice, I lost. I messed it up. But anyways, my pair of dice lost.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
You got it out.
I got it out. Yes. So you know what you do when you make an egg breakfast thing with a lot of pork, right?
Oh, no, what?
It's a Hamlet.
Congratulations. You may think the problem with this game is even if you think you win, you're just a lord of the flies. See, I'm not sure my puns are really making sense. I'm just coming up with using the first word or something and throwing it out. Like your pair of dice actually is a play on words.
Yeah, well, that one was it didn't deliver very well, but we'll have to get better at this. I think.
Yeah, it might need some practice.
It might need some practice.
I mean, obviously, the magic of editing will make this all sound much cleverer than it actually is.
But sometimes, if you see a statue, you ever see those statues like in the middle of the city in the plaza and the water be coming out of them? Well, normally you play down. My kids play down the feet in the water, but I like to watch water come out of the fountainhead. So, and the thing is really nice then if my Rennie's friend she didn't like getting wet, so Anne ran away from it.
Okay, but seriously though, a good activity that you could do with your kids though, you go to there's a college just over not too far from here over in South Bend.
Yeah,
you could have a nice picnic out over there and have lunch back in Notre Dame.
That's the best one so far. Lunch back at Notre Dame. Wow. I'm not sure I want to follow that one up. I'm done.
I think you're done. Okay.
So, audience, you can tell us whether you want us to try this again or not sometime.
Yeah, that was kind of rough. I mean,
I feel like we got a couple decent ones.
We kind of go. It's funny though. You start thinking of book titles and like it doesn't seem like it should be hard, but all of a sudden you'd be like,
you just blank. I don't work well in pressure. Like, or during the week, I'm like, oh, if we do this category, I can come with like I had like 5 of them real quick when I'm driving around, and I'm here. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
so I don't know. We'll see. We might give that another try at some point.
We'll see. Anyways, okay.
So based on how that section went, I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. We've actually done this segment before, but we've only done it once, and that is live brainstorming. We don't really have a jingle for it.
All right, so because we're talking story engines, we have in front of us 5 piles of
bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces. We have a pile of plots, like versus man, man versus whatever. A pile versus kind of stereotypical characters. Mm-hmm. One of stereotypical tropes.
We'll see how I think mine. I tried to be maybe a little too creative with them. So we'll see.
That's fine. It'll be make it fun. One of MacGuffins.
And one of character motivations.
Yes. So we're going to just pick them at random and
see what happens. And you know, obviously these are just the bare bones, no pun intended, this time.
I'm not sure any pun intended did work in the last one, but
but I mean, obviously we can embellish on these, which is kind of the whole idea. You know, we'll come up with some random elements, throw them together, and then we'll embellish.
Yes.
So, okay. So, should we start with a character then?
Sure.
Okay, so our first character is a talking dog.
A talking dog? Oh, this is a cartoon then. Or, well, not necessarily. It could be one old Disney sort of deal.
Yeah, possibly. Oh, or, you know, one of these modern, like, CGI type characters.
Yeah, that's one thing. Okay.
It might depend on... So should we go with plot first or motivation to follow that?
Let's do plot first. Where's my plots? Is this my plots? I think. Versus machine.
Oh, so it's a talking dog. Okay, well, actually, we need to know a little bit more about this dog. So, okay, so this dog's motivation is to become powerful and secure.
Powerful and secure.
So
there must be some sort of machine that maybe it's a futuristic, like, you know, one of these futuristic DreamWorks sort of, you know, like it's the automated pound or something. It's like Chicken Run, but like sci-fi.
Oh, okay, I could see that. I mean, the other option is if like maybe real dogs are being replaced by robotic dogs, and and then like, you know, so
like canines.
Yeah, basically.
No pun intended.
What?
No, never. Canine's a pun.
Canine?
Canine.
From the dog. Oh, I see. That's the name of the dog.
That's the robotic dog.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Sorry. So we want a MacGuffin or we want a trope?
Let's do the MacGuffin. Maybe there's something, because we have got a couple different options for what this talking dog is after against the machine.
The ultimate weapon.
Oh, wow.
Maybe he gets secured by shutting down. There's an ultimate weapon that can shut down.
Is he one? Oh, so he's wanting the ultimate weapon.
Well, both. If it's a MacGuffin, everyone wants an ultimate weapon.
So maybe like the talking dog is against part of a group against talking cats. Is that a cats versus dogs type thing?
But we got versus machine.
Well, okay, that's true. But I mean, if they're both, that's a good point. Because my first thought was
maybe it's like he crash landed on a planet. Like he was like, you know, one of the dogs put into space.
Oh,
and it's all robots there.
Oh, nice.
And the robots are like me. There's 2 tribes of robots fighting for the ultimate weapon. He's trying to get instead.
Interesting. Wow, this got really crazy.
So let's see our trope.
Yeah, what's our trope here?
Employer/friend is actually the bad guy.
Oh, wow. So, okay, so the dog wasn't alone in the spaceship, because the dog in the spaceship thing is really cool. So there were 2 dogs in the spaceship, maybe like a boy dog, girl dog.
Well, do you want a dog or do you want like his astronaut friend, like his owner? Oh, and then his owner ends up being on the side of the machines.
Oh, does the owner get brainwashed, or was he? Does he?
He thinks it's best for
it's best to give up individuality.
Because he's just a dog.
Okay, so he's gonna donate his dog to science. Basically.
Something maybe. Is that what the machine wants?
Well, maybe the machine has this idea of like absolute purity, and you know the dogs are messy. I mean,
that's true.
So
and you know, so he was a real friend, but at the end he's like, well, no, really, these guys are right. You're just a dog.
He betrays him.
Right after the dog brings him. The dog fetches the ultimate weapon finally. Brings it to his master. His master like, thank you, and he takes the weapon. He's like, now I can give this to my robot masters.
Oh, and then the dog has to defeat both the robot and his former master.
And then his former master at some point would probably say, "I'm sorry," or "You were right, dog," or
right.
you know.
Oh man, this is very tragic, but I'm liking it.
Yeah, there we go. You can make something out of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Not actually bad from such vague things.
That we just kind of threw together.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, there's our first story.
Okay.
That was fun. Let's okay, next character is we have got a chatty teenage girl.
Oh, all right. Everyone loves that. That's a good thing right there.
That's always fun. And her goal is to protect society.
Nice. Yes. So it's like Nancy Drew.
Well,
She's not chatty.
I think it's chatty. No,
but like a more modern is it Clueless.
Yeah.
Clueless sort of not Nancy Drew. Like Veronica Mars.
Yeah. Or I mean, I guess it depends also like on how old your teenage girl is. If she's like the Lauren, it's sort of like that girl from Runaways. The comic book series.
Yeah.
Where she just kind of hey, how you doing? I'm like, hey, what are you doing, mister? And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
So it depends.
So we need a plot for this.
Yeah, and that might
so he's trying
determine.
to protect society, but versus man. Okay, well that's
okay.
That's good for to protect society. I mean,
that's very broad. It's one of the most broad categories. Yeah. So I think we need to know what the MacGuffin is.
The MacGuffin is ancient location.
Oh wow! So like a young Indiana Jones girl here, maybe.
Yeah, like a. But if you're protecting society is like if it's like Atlantis or some
point.
sort of but then it must be dangerous, or maybe the man she's against or woman, I mean, could be one to use the power of Atlantis to make her own product line that would brainwash people. Like some sort of like designer clothes or lipstick or something that would control people, that made out of some sort of thing from the ancient civilization of Atlantis.
She had stolen from the ancient civilization.
Or she wanted to. They got to get there. They're both it's MacGuffin, so they're both racing to get there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I like where that's going.
Okay.
And
now,
what's our trope? I mean, we've got a lot. The trope is kind of a vague term. Yeah. It's just like one other
bumbling sidekick.
Now that's interesting because we've already got a chatty teenage girl, and you think that
you need the awkward silent boyfriend, but they don't know their boyfriend girlfriend. It's just like the good friend.
Okay, the guy that he's kind of always stumbling over himself.
But he talks about as much as Chrono Trigger. Like he doesn't talk at all. So he's like the teller of Penn and Teller.
Okay, interesting.
So she's chatty, talking to him all the time. He just nods.
I feel like this would make a great animated show.
This would, yeah.
Like, something for on WB
or something like
that.
I could see like a Spy Kids sort of
deal.
Like
they all have their own cool little gadgets that she's running around with.
Maybe we should write for Hollywood. This is awesome.
It's pretty easy, honestly.
Why don't I make my stories this way normally?
I'm pretty sure this is how it actually works in Hollywood, to be honest. Although they probably have a dartboard, not necessarily slips of paper.
So we have 7 of each of every category. We have 7. The rate we're going, we could just see what we end up with.
Yeah, we just fly through a whole bunch of these. I mean, this is way easier than your fancy pants music thing.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a 64-year-old man.
Okay.
Who?
When I'm 64.
I'm not sure why 64 was the number I went with.
Song, why not?
Okay. And his goal is to become a star.
Become a star?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So let's see his plot, though. What is he's against society. Well, he's 64 and trying to become a star, so I mean...
this is quite the contradiction.
It's an ageist sort of thing. He's versus society. Society doesn't want a 64-year-old...
guy being
to be a star.
Celebrity.
It may need to be a star something that's not normal. It's like those sports movies where like you can't do that.
Oh, okay.
And then you can.
Maybe he's a what's an unusual instrument to play, like a banjo or a...
Sure, yeah. So this is like one of those feel good Disney kind of sport event movie. Like he's like Banjo King or something like that. No.
So does he go to like a talent show? Like, well, okay.
Wait.
Like either that, like something like that, or maybe something like America's Got Talent type thing.
Yeah. I mean, in the first act, he has to be shot down.
Yeah.
Or something. But okay, let's find the MacGuffin. Crucial evidence. Maybe while he's trying to become a star,
maybe there's some evidence out there that the votes were rigged.
Maybe
on the talent show
because they were. He goes to like a Everyone's Got Talent sort of thing. but they're like, well, we can't. America doesn't really want you. So, but he's convinced that people did want him.
Right.
But the culture dictates that he shouldn't, or at least the people's perception of society of the elite Hollywood society.
It's interesting. There's not very. Again, this is unfortunate. One, going against what we were just saying about Hollywood coming up with plots this way, I can't think of really any story, or very few stories that are about like an old person like this that would have. Most time when they do stories about senior citizens, it's in this very kind of mellow sort of.
Unless it's up.
Yeah, unless it's up. I mean, business-wise, it makes sense. If your story features older characters, you're going to appeal to an older audience. But wouldn't it be interesting to see more stories like Up, where like the motivation is just as interesting to young people as it might be to older people?
Have you ever watched, what was that? Secondhand Lions.
I've heard of that. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it's about two old guys, but they're just telling stories and trying to do great things again, and it's interesting. Anyways, okay, so we need our MacGuffin though, right?
Oh no, that was the evidence.
Oh yeah. So we need
the trope. That's the one thing we haven't heard in this scenario.
Father thought he wasn't good enough. Well, that plays right into this.
It really does. I mean, the father basically fed into the same sort of stories that society was telling him.
Yeah, that you can't be a banjo player.
No
one likes banjo players.
That's so 1950s or whatever.
If you're not a frog, you can't play the banjo.
So he's gonna finally prove his dad wrong after living this very disappointing life. He's gonna become a nationally known banjo player.
Yeah. Now is his dad still alive or not?
Probably at this point.
No, probably act right before Act 3. Like his dad's sick the whole time and passes away, and then he plays the last banjo song for his father.
Aw, that's beautiful.
That's beautiful. I could write. Yeah, got it.
We got it.
All right,
nailed it.
Nailed it. Okay.
Washed up cowboy.
Ooh, yeah.
Who is out for revenge for a tragic accident.
These can't come any better. Okay. And then our plot then is versus time.
Oh man, I'm not. Interesting.
So he's revenge for a tragic accident.
Yeah, that's. I guess you should say that's his motivation.
Okay, but he's washed up.
So the accident may have been completely accident. So not anyone's fault, but he probably blamed someone for losing a loved one or car.
Well, maybe maybe it's one of those things where he's going to lose the ranch and so many days. He's a washed up cowboy. Maybe the end of the era. What was that movie? I think Kevin Costner directed about all the giant fields being fenced in and the ranchers were dying off because they were fencing everything. It was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it sounds like something Kevin Costner would be in.
Yeah.
Okay.
See,
what do we have next?
Our trope is hidden power. This got a little strange all of a sudden.
That took the story in a very different turn than I was expecting. Okay, so this is probably a superhero story. Then.
Well, what about this? What if because you got Wash Up Cowboy? What if he's been given? It's a passing away of the Old West. Okay, it's like the end of the era, and he's been given some last power, some sort of spiritual power from a Native American. Oh, and he has a limited amount of time to make that work before. Or I don't know if that's limited or whether the whole end of the era is enough versus time.
I don't know. It's a different. It's
Buffalo a different Rider.
Yeah. Oh dear. It's a different interpretation of versus time than I was. I mean, versus time. Yeah, you have a limited time span versus time is in. It's almost like a society thing. Like
that's true too.
Yeah. If the times
maybe
changing.
A time limit on the power that was hidden in the land or in the.
Oh, so he only has the power for a limited time, or he has it for like limited spurts. Like maybe it's a superhero power that like it needs recharging or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe here we go. Maybe it's only good at night.
Now there we go. Like so he's some sort of.
So like that's the time.
Buffalo
like,
Zorro.
Yeah. I'm picturing a guy in buckskins riding a buffalo and one of those in a rapier, basically.
That would be awesome. All right, wait. We still need our
trope. Oh no, the trope was the power.
We need a MacGuffin.
Oh, we forgot about the MacGuffin. Yes.
Inheritance.
Oh, now that goes back to the saving the ranch type of thing, though.
Well, maybe he's looking for revenge. We forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it was revenge against some family member who's taken. No, it was revenge for an accident, though, right?
Yeah, that was the original concept, which is tricky. It would be easier if it was like, a purposeful accident to try to steal the ranch.
It could be
or
an
whatever.
accident.
That's
Air quotes
true.
you guys can't see.
We can add that.
This one's a little rougher.
Yeah, some of the elements are a little harder to piece together here. I mean, the idea of a washed-up cowboy who suddenly develops powers that he has to race against time to use.
That's
I think
good.
I think that's pretty cool.
I mean, the race against time is the inheritance at like it passes for good to this other guy
oh, okay.
after midnight on such and such a day. So he has to get his maybe
like he's required to like finish a monument or something. Yeah, that sounds kind of
like Crazy Horse.
Yeah,
it's never getting finished.
I mean, that would be crazy.
Don't look a stone horse in the mouth. I don't know. I'm lost this one.
Okay. Well, we keep this up until we're hoarse from talking. We should probably move on. Yeah. Okay, but there's some interesting ideas there.
Yeah, we could get something there, but we won't get through all.
Yeah, we gotta hurry up. I think. Makeup saleswoman.
Oh, interesting.
So like a Mary Kay lady, I think, who wants to reconcile with a family member.
Oh, this is gotta be some sort of drama / romantic comedy coming up.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and then our plot is versus fate or God. Comedy. We're comedy gold right now.
I love how we're like, we're going along this track, and then we pull something that completely derails it.
That's awesome.
As it should be on the show.
It's Providence.
Okay, so reconciling with a family member, but versus God.
So I think like maybe this like one of these like things just don't go right, like Murphy's Law sort of
right
thing.
Like she wants to get her family together, but she kind of blames God for it falling apart in the first place.
When I think just fate constantly brings, I think you play comedy where it's like she feels like she's cursed. Like every time she tries to do something, it makes it worse.
Okay, yeah.
Some sort of that sort of like
that's versus the fate.
And maybe
sort of thing,
we actually have a character, like some sort of like what was that called? Almighty Bruce Almighty. Some sort of like goddish low-key figure there that's just like laughing at her like you'll never work, just messing her up all the time.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
the Bruce Almighty, the Morgan Freeman was more of a hey, maybe you should try this.
Yeah, this would have to be more
thing.
the other side, but you're stopping.
Right, because you're trickster God.
Okay, here's the MacGuffin.
You look like this is going to throw us for a loop.
Buried treasure.
Buried treasure. Okay,
but it wouldn't have to be pirate treasure. It could be like
a bootlegger's treasure, maybe.
Yeah, like some sort of flea market. Maybe
something from like 100 years ago.
But why is she trying to get it? Maybe she's trying to reconcile with her mom. Is that who she's trying to reconcile with?
Just as family member. Yeah.
Sister mom, something like that. Not a sister mom. But but like there's some priceless artifact. Like some antique roadshow sort of stuff.
Or a family heirloom that
got sold off, and then she's hunting it down like a road trip across the country trying to
I
get
like
it.
that. And she feels like this will bring the family back together if they have this link to their past.
And then they're just constantly things happen, like just fate just constantly gets in the way of.
They get sniped on eBay or
and she tracks it like all across the country.
Cool. Okay. Nice recovery there. What's our trope?
Our trope is long lost relative.
Oh.
So maybe at the end, the person who ends up with the heirloom is another relative.
Interesting. Or maybe there was a big split in the family because of this artifact.
Or maybe, if you want to get a little crazy, maybe the kind of supernatural figure that shows up and taunts her is the image of some long lost relative who was also cursed.
Oh,
if you want to go that crazy way,
that could work. Because the other thing I was thinking
of a twist. Then
then it's a twist. I like that because that fits in better with the
trope idea.
Yeah, the trope we had.
But then you could learn from the long lost relative once you figure this out. How to reconcile with your mother has nothing to do with the MacGuffin, which they never get back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got to rush through these because we're running.
We're taking a while.
Yeah. So we can combine some of these.
This put two of all of these. Well, at least two of the plots you can throw. I'm not sure two MacGuffins are going to be worth it.
I've got an extra character.
Okay.
So do you want to just do all three of them?
Sure. Do it.
Okay. So, this will be interesting. The president, a scientist, and an alien war refugee.
That writes itself.
They just have two goals: live the American dream
The war refugee, right? The alien refugee. What's
yeah,
another American
probably.
dream?
And humiliate the enemy.
Wow, those are perfect. Okay, so our we are versus self and versus nature.
Okay,
that throws things off a lot.
that really does. I mean,
The war refugee might versus himself, doubt and
all that kind of stuff.
that sort of stuff.
versus nature. That's a hard one to reconcile with humiliate the enemy, unless maybe these three characters aren't necessarily working together.
No, that could be.
Like
Maybe it's like some end times event, right? Like 2012 sort of movie.
okay,
And the scientist and president are trying to get back to living the American dream among this post-apocalyptic thing. Mm-hmm. And the war refugee wants to
go back.
beat up the American. I mean,
Oh, yeah, he's trying. He's the one who wants to humiliate the enemy. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily. Maybe the war refugee is a bad guy. I mean,
Yeah.
you think refugee, oh, poor guy, but maybe he's actually a twist. Maybe he wants to humiliate.
and maybe the war between the war between the humans and the aliens what causes massive nature event.
Okay. Like the nature sort of rebels against
Yeah.
it, or either that, or there's like some sort of
You
virus
nuclear
or something.
winter,
Okay,
nuclear
what's our
winter.
MacGuffin for this? 'Cause
MacGuffin, you
that
want one or
might.
two?
Uh,
Oh, here we go. They work together.
okay, yeah.
They're virus vaccine,
Okay,
so that can be our
that goes to
problem.
the nature. Yeah, probably.
and government secrets.
Oh,
So I mean, they could almost be the same thing. If
yeah,
you wanted
pretty
to.
practically, yeah.
And then our tropes are damsel in distress,
Well, if you've got a post-apocalyptic thing, you can fit that in just
an
about
alien
anywhere.
damsel, or a.
Well, it depends on who's the protagonist here. Are we rooting for the humans or are we rooting for the
Normally,
alien?
you're going to root for the humans.
Yeah,
but
it'd be a really weird.
be kind of interesting.
It would be interesting. I mean, you'd really have to establish what the war between the humans and aliens was about, and if they deserve to lose, and
Well, I feel like District 9, I can't remember, but it seems like you felt better. You decided with the aliens more than the humans.
right, yeah.
And then the master dies. So the
Oh.
president, I think, should die.
Oh, okay.
At the beginning, the scientist, or is it scientist?
Yeah, scientist and president.
Takes over.
Oh, he as president.
Or at least the goals of the president. Like what the president was trying to
okay.
get done right before
I got you.
he died.
Oh, okay, interesting. So it's a benevolent president.
This would
Gotcha.
almost make a better miniseries than a movie.
Yeah, I can see that because you have this kind of long term back and forth.
Yeah.
Did you ever see? Because I don't have cable, I probably couldn't have watched it even if I wanted to. But the show that Josh Holloway was doing with
The Colony?
Yeah, The
I didn't have
Colony?
a chance to watch it. Yeah.
I was really intrigued by
interesting,
that.
yeah.
The one basically where there's I think the aliens have taken over or something.
He probably just basically living in their ghetto camp, basically.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, not quite.
I think they sort of compared it to like the
French
French
and-
resistance in a sci-fi setting.
Yeah.
Which, hey, that sounds like a really interesting
Sounds good to
TV
me,
show.
yeah.
But anyway,
all
all right. So we need to wrap this up. But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's probably not the way you normally come up with story ideas, which is totally fine.
It's not a bad idea to, if you just get brain flowing. I mean,
Yeah.
because then, there might be something in there you'd be like, oh, I would really like to do that. I mean, you could make a story out of all of them, but whether you really feel like you like.
Right. I mean, when we did a Pulp Fiction project that one time where we
Yeah.
purposely said we want to write a story in such and such genre.
Yeah.
And then we
Came with some really neat stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fun to work within some of those ideas like that.
Yeah.
But we have to be signing off here. So, but don't forget, if you would like to leave us a comment, let us know how you felt about the pun off idea.
Yeah, the pun times for everyone.
Yeah, hopefully it was pun times for you.
We might have to self-pick our category next time until we get better at it.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. We'll tweak it. But certainly let us know how you felt about this episode. You
Yes.
can leave us a comment at derailedtrainsofthought.blogspot.com.
See us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere good podcasts are sold.
or download it.
Download. Yes. Anyways, I think they're about right.
Well, they're in the other room over there. They're playing some sort of weird song about idiots and control. Idiot control now. The lyrics seem like gibberish to me. But anyway, maybe you should introduce your own soundtrack. That would
Yes.
probably be better than this.
I tried to pick something different. I thought kind of the bare bones of a lot of games is fighting, is the boss or the battles. And so I picked a game from Gunstar Heroes, which I've never played. The name is Nice Legs. I don't know why. And it's remixed by Circe Jordanius. and it's fun. They call it kind of a like spy-ish. People say it sounds like the Seatbelts, who did Cowboy Bebop's music. Okay. And I can kind of see that, but it's quite enjoyable. So hopefully you enjoy. Nice legs.
That's the name of it?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Nice legs.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hope you enjoy that. Until next time, this is Tim.
This is Nick.
Bye-bye. Oh, we got movie sign!
Maybe we should pause for baby. No, that's all right. We're just like,
it's like,
oh, wow. Live from the Phineas and Ferb haunted house.
The floating baby head.
Floating baby head.
Did you want to be on the podcast? Big smile there.
All right. Nice.
Someday, Mercy. So, Joel, how'd you like the pun off?
It stinks.